Hey guys, this is God of Politics, and welcome back to a brand new video. But before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But today's video, what I'm going to be doing is the updated 2020 Senate elections battleground map. This is not a prediction, but a battleground map similar to what I did yesterday, which you should check out in the cards or linked down in the description, which was the battleground map for the presidential race. I've also been doing the Senate battleground maps for a couple months now, and what this is basically the state of the race. If the election were held today, how would these states go in terms of the Senate elections? I will be doing a prediction, which is predicting how these states will become November, and when I do that, that's going to be, in the future, but this is just for today. And so we're going to be doing the Senate battleground map, how I think the states would go if they were held today. Some of the primaries have still not been held yet, so that's, subject to change based on who's the nominee for either party. We're just going to be going through this map. First of all, as we always do, we'll start off with the states, which will be Idaho, Wyoming, Alaska, South Dakota, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. I do believe Alabama will be by a safe margin. Doug Jones is basically toast. He got less votes than Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton lost by 30 points in this state, so that's not going to be going to Doug Jones anytime sooner. It's not even going to be close. Also, Tennessee will be safe, and West Virginia will be safe. So that puts the Republicans at 42 safe electoral votes. And then for the Democrats, their safe seats are going to be the states of Oregon, which is with Jeff Merkley. I do believe he will win by a safe margin. The state of New Mexico, you have an open seat here. You have the incumbent for New Mexico's 3rd congressional district for the Democrats, and the Republicans don't really have a good candidate here, and I do believe that it will go by almost a safe margin in the presidential race, and in the Senate race, it will go by a safe margin here. Also in Illinois, I do believe that will be by a safe margin there, and then the next state that is going to be by a safe margin is going to be actually the state of Virginia here. You have Mark Warner here, who's actually quite popular in the state. This state's a state that's been trending towards the Democratic column for quite some time now, and I do believe that Joe Biden will win by around 7 to 8 points here. That's a pretty big win for him. Therefore, pushing Mark Warner, he'll be running a couple of points ahead of Biden into the safe column there. And the next state is going to be the state of Delaware with Chris Coons there, and the state of New Jersey with Cory Booker. And the next state is going to be the state of Massachusetts with Ed Markey or Joe Kennedy. We'll see who that is, but either way, it's going to be by a safe margin to the Democrats. Then the state of Rhode Island, and I also do believe that finally the state of New Hampshire will go by a safe margin. Jeanne Shaheen is running for re-election in this state, and I don't believe she really has any challengers from the Republican Party that are going to make this state too close at all. So after we've done the safe margin states, we can see the Democrats are at 44 seats, and the Republicans are at 42 seats. So now we'll go into the likely lean and tilt margin states. First, with the likely margin states, I do believe that in the state of Minnesota, it will be by a likely margin. In this seat, you have Tina Smith here. She is the incumbent Democratic senator from this state. She won in 2018 in a special election by around 10 percentage points, and I do believe she'll win by around 7 to 8 percentage points this time. She's outraising the Republican candidate 6-1 here, and I don't really believe that there's going to be too much of an issue in her winning. She did make some comments that might be controversial in this state, but again, at the end of the day, I don't think it is going to mean much come the election. And that's actually all of the likely states for the Democrats here. For the Republicans, we have a couple more likely states. First of all, will be the state of Kentucky. You're going to have Amy McGrath here going up against Mitch McConnell. Amy McGrath is not the best candidate. She's pretty partisan for the state of Kentucky. Too partisan to be able to win, not modern enough. And while Mitch McConnell is either the first or second most unpopular senator with Susan Collins in the country, it is still the state of Kentucky, and I do believe he'll win by close to 10 percentage points here. It's not going to be too close. The next state is going to be South Carolina. Actually, one thing you saw is that Jamie Harrison actually outraised Lindsey Graham, and that's quite interesting because Jamie Harrison was actually running in a primary. Lindsey Graham's an incumbent, and so that's actually a seat that you might have to watch out for. I don't think Jamie Harrison is going to win. He's going to make it closer, at least closer than the presidential race, and he is going to lose by a likely margin to Lindsey Graham, who's quite a polarizing figure, especially compared to what he used to be in a state that's actually not too much of a landslide in the presidential races either. I think Lindsey Graham will win by around 9 percentage points here, but we'll have to see how that changes come election day, but that's what I think it will be now. The next state is the state of Texas. You have John Cornyn here, the incumbent Republican here, first elected, I believe, in 2008. He's a lot less polarizing than Ted Cruz, and it's no longer a Democratic wave here. You don't have the best Democratic candidate for the state of Texas, and so I do believe John Cornyn is going to easily win this seat, probably by around 9 to 10 percentage points. Maybe he can even win by a safe margin because he is an incumbent senator. He is quite popular, but again, he is in a trending Democratic state, and so I do believe that at the end of the day, at this point, he would win by a likely margin, and that's actually all of the likely margin states. We can see Democrats and Republicans are locked in a dead heat here, with the Republicans at 45 seats, Democrats also at 45 seats, Republicans have 3 likely states, Democrats have 1. Going into these lean margin states here, first, I'll start with the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan, you have incumbent Gary Peters here running against Republican challenger John James. And one of the interesting things that you've been seeing here is in all of the polls, every single one, John James is running a couple points behind Donald Trump in this state, and Gary Peters is running a couple points ahead of Joe Biden. And what that means is that usually it's around by 2 to 3 points, meaning that Donald Trump will have to win the state by at least 2, in my opinion, because there are going to be voters that vote for Donald Trump and Gary Peters because Gary Peters is a generic Democrat. And so what you're going to have to see is that if John James wants to win, he's going to have to really hope Trump does very well in the state of Michigan that can pull him over the finish line. As of now, I don't see that happening because I don't even see Donald Trump winning the state of Michigan at all. And so at the end of the day, I do believe that the state of Michigan is going to say, with the Democratic candidate Gary Peters here, as of now, I think he'd win by around 4 to 5 percentage points here, and I do believe that that would be a good result for him. The next lean margin state is actually a flip to the Democratic column. The first flip that I'm putting over here, which is the state of Colorado. Colorado, you have incumbent Cory Gardner for the Republican side going up against Democratic challenger John Hickenlooper, most likely. There have been some scandals, some ethics violations that they're making him testify about, things like that. I'm not too familiar with the whole situation, but at the end of the day, he is a popular former governor running against an unpopular Republican in a state that's trending towards the Democratic column. And so at the end of the day, I do believe John Hickenlooper is going to win this seat by a lean margin. As of now, I think he'd win it by a lean margin, almost by a likely margin, close to 5 points. I think he'd win it if the election were held today. The next state is actually the state of Arizona. Mark Kelly is doing superbly in the state of Arizona, going up against Martha McSally. He's up, by double digits in some polls. And while I don't think he's going to win by double digits, I do think that he is going to do quite well here. He's probably the best Democratic recruit in the Senate elections this year, maybe other than Steve Bullock or something like that. But he is a very good challenger here to Martha McSally, who already lost an election to Kirsten Sinema, who's now in the Senate. She got appointed to the Senate anyway. Now she's running against Mark Kelly, and it's looking like she's going to lose. If the election were held today, honestly, I think Mark Kelly would win by almost 5 percentage points. Martha McSally is really not a popular figure in this state. And Mark Kelly, his wife, is in Congress. He's a popular figure here, and he was an astronaut too. So that seems like it's going to help him. So that's another lean margin state for the Democrats, and that's actually all the lean margin states for the Democrats. Democrats at 48 seats here. For the Republicans here, I do believe that they will win the state of Montana. As of now, by a lean margin, you have Steve Bullock running against Steve Daines. Steve Bullock, the incumbent Democratic governor. I don't believe that Steve Bullock is going to win at the end of the day. I do believe now that it is going to be quite a close election, probably by around 2 to 3 percentage points if the election were held today. But I do not believe that Steve Bullock is going to end up winning. This is more in the future, but I don't believe he's going to end up winning. As of now, I do believe that it will be a close election if the election were held today, which is why I'm putting it at a lean margin. But he is a popular incumbent governor running against not so well known of a senator, and Democrats have proved they can win in the state of Montana. Even at the national elections, you saw John Tester won here in 2018, and while it's not a blue wave year anymore, I do believe that Steve Bullock will be able to make it close here. The next lean margin state is the state of Iowa here. Now, Iowa is a state with a incumbent Republican Senator Joni Ernst. She's actually not quite popular here. She is not doing that well in terms of her approval rating, and she is in a state that did go to Barack Obama both times. The primary is actually today, the day that you will probably be watching. This is the day that I am uploading this video. The primary for the Senate election is today. We'll see who the Democratic candidate is, but I don't believe that they are too strong, which is why I do believe that Joni Ernst will win by a lean margin, probably around 3 to 4, maybe 4 to 5 points here. But I do believe that she will end up winning, even though she isn't too popular here. The next state I'm going to put in the lean margin is actually the state of Kansas. Kansas is a weird one because you do have the Republican primary between a couple candidates, some good for the Republican Party, some bad for the Republican Party. The bad one is Chris Kobach. If he's the nominee, I do very well think that Chris Kobach could lose and the seat could go to the Democrats. But if Chris Kobach is not the nominee, the seat could be by a likely margin, maybe even a safe margin here. And that's why I'm putting kind of in the middle at a lean margin here. But really, I do think that it will go to the Republicans at the end of the day. Even if Chris Kobach is the nominee, he could still win. And then the final two lean margin states are actually both of the Georgia elections, both the special election and the non-special election. In the special election, you have Matt Lieberman is most likely going to be the Democratic candidate in the runoff against Doug Collins. That's probably the most likely scenario here. Kelly Loeffler is not doing too well here. And you have Warnock as well in the Senate race. I do believe that Doug Collins is going to end up winning, but this is a state that's trending towards the Democratic column here. The suburbs are trending towards the Democratic column, but I do believe that Republicans will end up winning. I've been pointing out this is the dark horse of the presidential race. The Senate race could be interesting as well, but I do believe the special election will go to Doug Collins. As for the non-special election, I do believe that David Perdue will end up winning, but he will end up winning by a lot less than what he won before, and he will end up winning maybe by around 4 to 5 points as well. They will both end up winning comfortably, but I do believe that as of now, they are going to be by a lean margin. The last states, which are both tilt margin states, as we can see after the lean margin states, Republicans have already reached 50 seats. Democrats are at 48 here. Going into the tilt margin state, first of all, with the state of North Carolina, I do believe North Carolina actually is going to be tilt Democratic here. And the reasoning for that is you have the incumbent Senator Tom Tillis here versus the Democratic challenger Kyle Cunningham here. And what's interesting about this is in most of the polls we've seen out of the state of North Carolina, Tom Tillis, first of all, is not a very popular person. He's not quite a popular senator. And the thing that you're seeing in the polls is that Tom Tillis is running a couple points behind Donald Trump, just like John James is running a couple points behind Donald Trump in the state of Michigan. Except this is a bit different because Tom Tillis this is the same actually, because Tom Tillis is not doing as well in the state of North Carolina. So if Donald Trump does win the state by less than, maybe less than 2 or 3, Tom Tillis will probably end up losing. And as you saw in my Battleground election yesterday, I did say that as of now, North Carolina will be tilt red. And so I do believe that at the end of the day, Tom Tillis is going to end up losing his seat. As of now, that's what I think will happen. Obviously, he could gain. Obviously, Trump could continue to do well in North Carolina, pull Tom Tillis over the line. But at the end of the day, I do believe that North Carolina, actually, for now, I believe that North Carolina is tilt blue. Also, this is a surprise here, that the state of Maine will be tilt blue as of now as well. You have the incumbent Republican Senator Susan Collins here, who is the most unpopular senator in the country. She's at around 52% disapproval, which is really not a good sign for her. She's running against, the best candidate really the Democrats could ever asked for, and that's the Speaker of the House. She's a middle-aged white woman, which can appeal to a lot of women rather than what Susan Collins has gotten in the past, which is a lot of support from white women in a state that's very white, but still Democratic, has been trending towards the right column, but is still Democratic for now. And so I do believe that as of now, Susan Collins is not doing too well. She's not popular here. The Kavanaugh vote still does hurt her in the state, all the things with impeachment, things like that. And so at the end of the day, as of now, looking at all these facts, at the end of the day, I do believe that Susan Collins would lose if the election were held today. Sarah Gideon is quite a good candidate. The polls have shown that she is doing well right now. The polls have shown Susan Collins is not popular here. And this is a Democratic state, and politics are much more polarized than they were before. And so as of now, I will give the main Senate race to the Democrats here, putting the final map at 50 Democrats and 50 Republicans here. This would be a split Senate with the vice president breaking the tie in this case. For, as you saw from my Battleground map yesterday, that would be a Democratic vice president to break ties for the Democrats. So at the end of the day, that's 50 Republicans, 50 Democrats here. That's my Battleground map for now. I'll be doing my prediction later in the week for both the president and the Senate races. I'll be doing my House Battleground map and House prediction later in the week as well. So thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. So thank you all for watching, guys, and I will see you guys later.